LJUNGGREN spoke with a man who rarely gives interviews, the head of the Russian Air Force. Once the prize of the mighty Soviet military machine, we learned that not all is well today with the defense of Russia's skies.
The cream of Russia's Air Force showed their best side this autumn, shooting across the sky in perfect formation as they escorted Britain's Queen Elizabeth into Moscow. But don't be fooled. Just like the rest of the military, the Air Force is in trouble. Once the vanguard of the Soviet armed forces, Russia's pilots have come down to earth with a bump, grounded by a lack of money and equipment. The man with the job of dealing with the mess is Air Force Chief Дейнекина, who makes no bones about the challenges he faces.
Самая главная проблема – это острейшая нехватка госбюджетных ассигнований.
The main problem is the critical lack of money we're given from the state budget. We're only getting half of what we asked for. The armed forces as a whole had a budget of 38 trillion rubles this year, of which they only received 19. So the Air Force doesn't have enough money for scientific research, for buying new equipment, or even enough resources to build housing.
Дейнекина concedes that Russia cannot afford to maintain its huge armed forces now the Cold War is over, but says the slashed budget has in turn cut standards.
Топливо есть, и, извините за такую аллегорию, море.
There is fuel. In fact, there's a whole ocean of fuel, if you'll pardon the expression. But we're only given enough money to meet 60% of our needs. We can't give our pilots a decent chance to fly the 150 to 180 hours a month they need. This is a serious problem. We have to limit the number of pilots we can prepare for military action, and can only give fuel to those who will actually take their planes into combat.
Russia's new generation of warplanes are gathering plaudits around the world, but if the huge sums of money needed to develop new models runs dry, the country could find itself in the slow lane.
Ситуация, конечно, близка к кризисной.
The situation is, of course, critical. We've only been able to give researchers and developers 18% of the money that was allocated to them. This is slowing down their work and reducing our ability to design new planes. If we don't get the cash, we will fall behind our foreign competitors.
But he insists the picture is not totally black.
И боеспособность военно-воздушных сил снижена.
The military effectiveness of the Air Force has been reduced, and I'm not afraid to use that word when comparing the situation to what it was last year. But I have no doubt we can restore it, to the highest level if necessary, in a matter of just a few weeks, if fuel is provided.
But Дейнекина is used to adversity. In the 8-year history of the country's Air Force, he is the first ever bomber pilot to reach the top. And he's not too worried about the huge cuts which have seen Air Force numbers fall from 500,000 in August 1991 to 190,000 now.
68 тысяч самолетов Люфтваффе.
During the last war, our Air Force shot down 68,000 Luftwaffe planes. But you must remember that just 3% of our pilots accounted for 80% of the German aircraft we downed. That's quality for you. So it's not always worth expending large amounts of resources to be effective.
But joking aside, he admits he has sacrificed much of his personal life to get where he is.
Нет, я бы не хотел, чтобы мой сын прожил такую жизнь.
No, I would not like my son to be a pilot and to have the life I had. He strongly wants to be an artist, and I support him in this.
As for himself, given the chance, he'd be back in the air again.
If I had the choice, I'd like to be either a test pilot or the commander of a big long-range airliner.
And that's it for the first half of our program. We'll be back